It was a Saturday afternoon, the sun streaming through the windows, casting warm golden hues across our living room. My daughter Mia was running around the house, her laughter echoing as she dodged between furniture and toys. I couldn't help but smile at how full of life she was. She was only 6 years old, but her energy could fill a room. Mia had always been the imaginative type. She loved to play pretend, whether it was building castles out of cushions or imagining we were secret agents on a top-secret mission. Today, though, we had something even more ridiculous planned. We were going to play a game we'd made up ourselves called The Invisible Maze. I had been reading a book about a magical world to her earlier, and we discussed how we could build an invisible maze for ourselves, where she would have to find the path by navigating obstacles that only she could see. Of course, there were no actual obstacles, just pillows, toys, and my furniture arranged in a way that would make her weave and dodge. I remember laughing at how silly it all seemed. Mia was so enthusiastic about it, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she told me, "This is going to be so much fun. Mommy." We began the game with her excitedly pretending to stumble over invisible rocks and duck under invisible branches. She was so focused on her mission, and I was enjoying watching her imagination run wild. We laughed together, and for a moment, it felt like nothing could ruin this perfect Saturday. Little did I know that the very game we were playing would soon become the reason I would have to act faster than I ever thought possible. The maze game continued for an hour, and Mia had a blast. She was so into it, using her tiny feet to tiptoe carefully around the room. I would occasionally call out, "Watch out, the invisible spikes are ahead," and Mia would gasp in mock fear, spinning around and taking a detour, acting as though she was really in danger. I couldn't stop laughing. Her imagination was contagious. But as the game went on, I noticed something odd. At first, I thought it was just part of the game, but Mia began stumbling more than usual. Her usually quick feet seemed sluggish, and her movements weren't as precise. I brushed it off as part of the fun. She was pretending to get trapped in the maze, after all. However, something inside me began to nag at me. Her face, which was usually flushed with energy, seemed a little paler than normal. I told her to take a break for a minute, but she waved me off, insisting that she was fine and just needed to complete the next round of the invisible maze. "Mom, I'm so close, just a few more steps," she said with a determined smile. I watched her carefully, wondering if she was pushing herself a little too hard. But she was so persistent, always the go-getter. Still, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had started creeping in. By the time Mia had finished her maze, I noticed that her playful energy had begun to wane. She wasn't as chatty, and there was a noticeable tiredness in her voice. When I asked if she was okay, she shrugged but didn't respond immediately. That was unusual. My daughter, normally full of questions and energy, would never go quiet unless something was wrong. I knelt down beside her, concerned. "Mia, sweetheart, do you feel okay? You look a little pale." She looked up at me, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. "I'm fine, Mommy. I just need to rest a little." That was the moment I knew something wasn't right. Mia never complained about being tired. Not when it came to playtime. I suggested we sit down for a few minutes, and I made her a cup of water, hoping it would help revive her. As she sipped the water, her tiny hands trembled slightly, which made me even more worried. I tried to shake off the anxiety building up inside me. After all, she had just been running around, playing a silly game. It was probably just a bit of exhaustion. I told myself, but deep down, my instincts were starting to whisper that this wasn't just tiredness. Something was off. I tried to distract myself by picking up a few toys scattered around the living room. But I couldn't stop glancing at Mia. She was sitting on the couch now, her head resting against the back cushions. Her face, once glowing with excitement, had grown increasingly pale. She didn't respond when I asked if she was feeling better. Her body language was lethargic, and her eyes seemed to have a glazed look, as if she was drifting in and out of focus. It wasn't just tiredness, this was something more serious. I gently touched her forehead. She didn't have a fever, but she felt warm. "Mia," I called softly, but she didn't answer. Her breathing seemed slightly more labored than usual, and she was blinking slowly, as if struggling to stay awake. Suddenly, my mind went racing through possible scenarios. Could it be a reaction to something she ate? Had she picked up a virus, or, worse, was it something more severe? I tried to stay calm, but my heart was pounding. Mia muttered something under her breath, but I couldn't quite make it out. I leaned in closer, asking, "What did you say, honey?" She looked up at me, her eyes still unfocused, and whispered, "I don't feel right, Mommy." That was the moment I knew for sure. Something was wrong, very wrong. I knew I had to get her medical help. Immediately, no more second guessing. I scooped Mia into my arms, trying to stay calm, but everything inside me was screaming. I could feel my hands trembling as I dialed my husband's number with the other hand. Please pick up, please pick up. I muttered under my breath. The phone rang for what felt like an eternity before he finally answered. Honey, what's wrong? He asked, clearly startled by the urgency in my voice. Mia doesn't feel well, I choked out. She's weak, dizzy, and she says she's scared. I think we need to take her to the ER now. His voice immediately shifted to one of concern. I'm on my way, stay calm. I'll be there in 15 minutes. I didn't have 15 minutes to wait. I needed help, and I needed it now. By the time my husband arrived, Mia was barely conscious. She hadn't spoken much in the last few minutes, and I could see the fear in her eyes. This was not just exhaustion or dehydration. I had a sinking feeling in my gut that this could be something far worse. Do you think she's okay? I asked my husband, struggling to keep my voice steady. He didn't answer immediately, but his eyes betrayed his worry. He helped me carefully get Mia into the car, and I drove as fast as I could, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. The silence in the car was deafening. Every second felt like an eternity. We arrived at the emergency room, where the staff immediately took Mia in. I sat in the waiting room, holding my breath, praying for answers. The doctor came in after what felt like hours, looking grim. We've run some tests, and it looks like your daughter has suffered an allergic reaction. The doctor explained, it's severe, but we're treating it now. I froze. An allergic reaction. To what? What had happened during the game? The doctor continued. Her reaction was triggered by something she ate earlier today, possibly something containing nuts. Fortunately, we were able to treat it in time. She'll be fine after a few hours of monitoring. I let out a shaky breath, feeling like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders. But the realization hit me hard. It was our silly game that had saved her life. Had I not been playing with her, had I not noticed the subtle signs of distress, Mia's condition could have worsened to the point of anaphylaxis. As I sat by her bed, holding her tiny hand, I realized something profound. Sometimes it's the most innocent moments that can become the most pivotal in our lives. That silly game we played, filled with laughter and imagination, had turned out to be more important than I could have ever imagined. It wasn't just about the fun or the distractions. It was about paying attention to my child, noticing her changes, and acting quickly when things didn't seem right. If I hadn't been in the room with her, if I hadn't been playing that game, I might not have caught her reaction so quickly. The difference between life and death often lies in the smallest, most unexpected moments. As I watched Mia sleep peacefully that night, hooked up to monitors but recovering well, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. My heart ached at the thought of what could have happened if I hadn't been there, but at the same time I felt a deep, unshakable sense of relief. Our silly game had saved her life. That game wasn't just about pretending to navigate an invisible maze. It was about staying connected with her, noticing her changes, and acting quickly when things didn't seem right. The game, though trivial, had led me to the moment where I saved my daughter's life. I kissed her forehead, whispering a silent thank you for the strength I never knew I had, and for the reminder that sometimes, even in the most playful moments, we can find the courage and clarity we need to face the most terrifying challenges. When the doctor finally gave us the all-clear, and Mia was strong enough to leave the hospital, I took her hand and promised her something. We'll always play our silly games, I told her, smiling through the tears. But now, we'll always remember how important it is to look out for each other. Even when it's just a game, we have to pay attention. As we left the hospital, Mia's laugh once again filled the room. But this time, I felt an even deeper connection to her. I was reminded that life is unpredictable, and that even in the smallest moments, there can be a hidden power to protect the ones we love. I had saved her life, and in the process, we'd both learned just how precious each second really is.